It's the Poker News Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Poker News Podcast. I am Chad Holloway, joined by Kyna England and Connor Richards, filling in for Mike Holtz, who is, I don't know, playing poker somewhere about town, maybe deep in a WSOP event, not the employees event. Who knows what he's going to try to sneak into next. But we got a great episode as the WSOP is well underway. Lots of bracelet winners have been crowned. But before we do that, I want to jump into a continuation story, if you will, that we touched upon in the last episode, and that was the Hustler Casino Live $1 Million cash game. Now, kind of when we recorded the last episode, it was like 2 days in. Texas Mike was doing pretty well. 2 more days happened. Texas Mike did not do so well.
Poor Texas Mike. I feel for him. But hey, he went out there and he did it. It was still crazy. He still kind of played like him. It was fun to watch. So
yeah, he played 2 sessions. That first day, he won $516,000. Day 3, he promptly lost $2.7 million, so down $2.2 million. I mean, that's a lot. Like I was telling Mori Eskandani, our boss at Poker News, that this game and these pots kind of blew away what we used to watch on high stakes poker.
yeah, it was insane. There was one I caught. I didn't watch the whole stream, but I caught part of the end. Like, I don't even think it was the end because I think Texas Mike like rebought again. But it was like he was down to his last $350,000 or something like that, ridiculous. And I think he takes a flip with that guy Steve, and it like he has tens versus ace jack, and it runs out clean. And on the river, like right before the river goes down, that Steve guy's like, "Oh, how much is it?" And everybody laughs, and then Texas Mike's like, "You win. I'll see you guys later." And then lo and behold, the jack rolls off on the river. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
But then he acted like he was going to leave, and he just pulled out another like $750K and set it on the table. So craziness for sure.
We have the results. We'll show them on the screen here. Peter, almost $5 million winner. 1.5 on day 1, $1 million on day 2, and 2.4 on day 4. So just absolutely crushed it. Texas Mike was the second biggest loser, 2.2 million. As I mentioned, the biggest was this mystery guy named Thomas. Connor, he just showed up. Like, I have no idea who he is. Do you? Like, he just was wearing a mask, and then he just dusts off in 2 days, 2.7 million.
No, I have no idea who he was. And I was asking John Sofin, our colleague, who really covers Hustler Casino Live closely. I was like, who is this guy and why aren't we reporting him? How can he get into this televised game, $1 million buy-in, without anyone knowing his identity? But I don't know. I guess Ryan Feldman and Nick Vertucci aren't going to deny someone who wants to get into that game. And if they want to protect his privacy, I don't know. People are saying tax concerns or whatever it is. But I don't know. I thought it was weird. I think if you're going to play on a public stream, we have this when we live report sometimes where players will come up to us and they want to use a nickname or don't want to use their full name. And I think generally the policy is, hey, if you bought into this event where you knew there was going to be reporting, then we're going to use your name unless it's a safety concern. So I don't know. Just as a journalist, I think people should use their identities, but it made it more interesting for sure.
Yeah, he had a big pot. There was one where he actually mucked a winner in a $540,000 pot. It was a 3-way against Steve and Texas Mike, and Thomas ended up making a straight on the river. But when Steve tabled pocket kings, Thomas just mucked. Don't take it from me. We actually got a clip, which we're going to show right here.
Really good for they're buying like better shirts than the shirt itself is good.
But also like the hoodies and stuff are cool. Like they have sweatpants and
Squeeze
shit.
Opportunity. Squeeze away. How's your mood? You don't want to act out of turn, do you? 22.
No lie. Triton swag is strong. Steve has made it 22,000 with kings. Keating kind of come along for the ride. And this might bring in more players. Texas Mike calls. Dwan's going to almost definitely call with 5s. What does Thomas do?
No.
He calls as well. 5-way action with kings. Pot's already $112,000.
I think the book says you have to be able to get away from a big hand.
Thomas open-ended. Pair of 9s for Texas Mike. Dwan with 5s. Steve still in the lead with kings. Texas Mike has bet 56,000. Thomas makes the call.
Maybe I could get one pass from the chat mafia if I let this hand go? No, they won't let me.
Steve makes the call. Pot now 280,000. 3 players still involved. That is a beautiful blank if you're Steve. He bet 1,000. Did he really just do that? He bet 1K.
You guys, have you been reading my book?
And there you go. Thomas has just made the straight. I mean, you gave Thomas 282 to 1 on his money. I think it was irresistible.
Call.
Steve makes the call.
I didn't hear what you said. Oh, okay.
Alan,
Whoa.
you know what 25K chips?
Thomas folded. I'm not sure if he misread his hands
Should I feel slighted?
or he thought he was bluffing. Clearly, he thought he was bluffing because he pointed to his
I thought that I got it. Me to accept.
opponent right away.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
What just
Probably
happened?
don't know this about really high stakes players. Yeah. But we wear fanny packs.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right, I don't qualify.
So there you have it. I mean, $543,000. Did you think he saw this on air and maybe just tilted and then proceeded to lose even more? Would you tilt?
I mean, yes. I don't know how they handle that kind of thing. I mean, everybody can see the cards. I don't know. Maybe they made it right later. Hopefully, I mean, it's happened before, right, on the streams, and then you just don't really hear about the end result. So I don't know. I'd be kind of sick to my stomach for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've mucked a winner in like a tournament before, but not a $500,000 misread. Pretty crazy. One of my favorite hands, and I actually watched this. I was watching the stream as it happened. Really enjoyed this one. It was a big pot between Alex Keating and a player named, Alan Keating and a player named Rahul. It ended up being Keating had the 9-10 of spades. Rahul had the 7-8 of spades. And the flop came down 4 of spades, Jack of spades, 8 of hearts. And it was a 5-way pot at that point in time, too. So Rahul flops a flush draw and a pair of 8s. And Keating has the open-ended straight with a better open-ended straight draw with a better flush draw. And there was a lot of action. There was a big river bet from Keating, who did make the straight. And check this one out, $2.4 million pot.
All right, man.
He calls 2.4 million, and Keating is back. Keating is back. There it is. Takes a walk. Boom. 2.4 million straight. Alan Keating is back. Leaves Rahul with crumbs. 150K left in Rahul. You see him. Alan Keating.
What's the amount? 800 right here. It was exactly 800.
Stands up from his chair. There it is. All smiles, Alan Keating, and the opposite for Rahul.
All right, so there you saw it. That was just the tail end because that hand was much longer in real time.
Yeah, it was like a 12-minute hand and really long on the river, I think, too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I fast forwarded. When I see the clips, I'm just, okay, let's see what happens.
Yeah, on that river, Rahul had bet with 2-pair. He ended up making 2-pair, the same card that gave Keating the straight. He bet 200K, and then Keating just jammed all in for $1 million, and Rahul tanked, and I remember watching it with Yori in real time, and we were going back and forth. Like, I think he's going to call. He's going to do it. He's not going to do it. He's going to do it. And then he did. And, $2.4 million pot there, Connor. We don't see those very much. High stakes poker is not getting up to 2.4, maybe $1 million from time to time, but not 2.4.
No, it's true. High stake or Hustler Casino Live really has kind of changed the game and upped the stakes. But I'll just say, this feels like this is multiple years of Alan Keating building his reputation, and it's finally paying off.
Yeah, right? That's what I was thinking, too.
He's we've watched him for years and just wonder what he's doing in these pots where he's just getting so involved, playing such a high VPIP, And this is the whole game plan right here is he builds this reputation, gets invited to these games, was in most nights. Well, did he play every night on the stream?
No, he played, let me see.
3, I think. I don't think he played the first 2 because they hyped it up like, Alan Keating will be here tomorrow.
Yeah, he only paid the last 2 days, 3 and 4, $1.5 million win on day 3, and then $421,000 on day 4. He was stuck a lot when he won that $2.4 million pot, but it got him unstuck, obviously.
And so I really do think that's kind of his game plan is get into these games, be a fun player to play with, give action, and then when you finally have it, you'll get paid off when you make that river raise. So it's cool to see.
You saw him on the big game, just pot. Like he just, like every hand too. So he's likely to be in there with any 2 cards. And so it's hard to put him on a hand really all the way down to the river there that, when you have 2 pair, it looks juicy against Alan Keating.
I like Alan Keating a lot. He's, I have some interactions with him over the years. I actually played Ultimate Werewolf at his penthouse at Panorama Towers years and years ago. He's always been a super nice guy, and he doesn't have, at least to me, any sort of ego or pretentiousness to him. He just comes, he's friendly, he smiles, he's splashing around left and right. He wins big, loses big. I really like him. I think he's great for poker, and in the game almost won $2 million. There was some drama after the $1 million cash game wrapped up, right? Mm-hmm. So it was Tom Dwan in that last episode. They're like, Tom Dwan's not going to be here. If he does, it might be late. I do think he got in late, when the game started to break and there was an open seat. But it turns out that there's some politics involved, which there always are in these kind of high-stakes cash games. And I think some of the players are like, we don't want to play if Tom Dwan is playing or whatever. And Ryan Feldman and Nick Vertucci had to juggle this. And Garrett Adelstein comes out of nowhere on Twitter and he says, this week, 2 stars and Doug Polk and Tom Dwan learned why I never trusted anything Feldman said. He has his own agenda and was willing to say anything necessary to execute it. Helpful when you are of use to him, brutal otherwise. No one will step on his toes given his power. Which is interesting because in these high-stakes games, whether it's Feldman at Hustler Casino Live, whether it's John Robert Belland in these games in Vegas, and ones we probably don't even know about, there is a gatekeeper, if you will, that invites certain people, has to juggle the politics of, if it's the 3 of us and Connor hates Kyna and, they don't want to play together, then you got to figure it out. But, it was interesting because Garrett, of course, the other end of the Robbie Jade Lou situation, feels he was cheated on Hustler Casino Live, speaking out against Hustler Casino Live, but didn't really get received, I think, as he maybe had hoped, because Tom Dwan and Doug Polk, who were both named by him, come out and say, I don't really see it that way. They sent some tweets of their own. And, what did you make of this whole situation, Kyna?
I mean, all opinions aside, I actually think it's kind of unfair that they wouldn't let him play the last day. I mean, wasn't he stuck a bunch? You're down, you agreed, they agreed to let him play on the stream. Let him continue. That doesn't seem fair, to be like, oh yeah, you just lost a bunch and now no one wants to play with you anymore. You can't sit with us. It just seems unfair. So I don't know, the politics again, just that in general, would rub me the wrong way.
Yeah. Connor, any thoughts on this whole thing? I mean, these are 3 of the biggest names in the poker.
I agree with Kyna, especially since he was stuck. I think just etiquette-wise, he should have a chance to come back. But running a game like this with $1 million buy-ins, I can imagine there's plenty of politicking going on and people who wouldn't want to play with other people. So I don't really envy Ryan and Nick in putting those games together. I'm sure it's difficult to do. As far as Garrett speaking out, it's good that he's speaking out and bringing attention to this. But again, he was kind of speaking on behalf of Doug and Tom and kind of put words in their mouth and saying, oh, well, now they experienced what I did. And then they come out and say, oh, we don't really see things eye to eye. So I don't think he should have spoken for them unless, he was really sure that they really did agree. But I understand the grievance for sure.
I think Nick Vertucci seized on that a little bit when Doug Polk and Tom Dwan kind of came to the defense, if you will, and Vertucci kind of took a jab back at Garrett Adelstein saying, that didn't really work out for you, right?
Of course he did. So unnecessary, whatever.
It's funny, funny and entertaining, the drama at these high-stakes games, right? And the politics that must go along with it. Look, I've been in the poker industry this is my 16th World Series of Poker, and I know firsthand how hard it is to crack into these big stakes games in terms of media coverage and information, right? They keep it very guarded. Like, I don't know who doesn't want to play with Tom Dwan, but clearly somebody
Let's
doesn't.
guess.
So it's very interesting, though. And of course, Hustler Casino Live is producing some big pots and entertaining moments, and kind of, took the limelight while the WSOP was getting underway.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, like I said, I didn't sit there and watch the whole thing, but like seeing clips and just watching it here and there, I think it was more entertaining than it was last time, for sure.
All right. Well, let's talk World Poker Tour, because that was another thing happening at the start of the WSOP. They had 2 final tables that played out at the Luxor Esports HyperX Arena, something like that. And I went over there for the first one, which we talked about in the last episode with Josh Reichert.
Josh.
You were there.
Yeah.
Check out that episode if you want to hear about Josh's big win in the Seminole Hard Rock Poker Showdown. But the next day, and I think it was when we recorded the last episode, that night was going to be the WPT Choctaw Championship. And Connor, you were actually over there for that one.
Yep, I was there covering that one, and I wasn't at the Seminole final table, but I heard it was a rowdy one. I saw pictures of that, and Reichard had a pretty crazy rail.
No, she was there. She was part of it.
It didn't match that energy, really not even close, but it was still very cool. It was a super stacked final table, so the final 3 ended up being James Mackey, who won it in 2016, Eric Afriet, who is looking for a record-tying 4th title, and then Adam Hendricks, who is a very well-known pro. And he actually had the biggest rail there, and it was a lot of notable poker players. There were people like Francis Anderson, Justin Saliba, and Ren Lin was there, and he's always just the most entertaining guy. He kept, calling, Adam Hendricks is from Alaska, so he kept calling him Snowman and Iceman and all this stuff. It was just a lot of fun. I got some good quotes for the article. I mentioned Adam ended up in 3rd. Eric Afriet ended up 2nd, so he couldn't make a history-tying 4th place victory. But yeah, James Mackey won the event. That's his 2nd time winning the same event, and I believe that's only happened one other time in WPT history. So it was pretty much a historic final table. It was fun to cover.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I was rooting for Eric Lindgren. Just old school.
Yeah, I didn't even
Eric
mention
really well.
he was there. The whole final table was great. But yeah, he went out in 6th place pretty early.
Yeah, he was short stack going into that one. But WPT final tables are done now. WPT, I think they're going to do some Alpha 8 high rollers over at the Wynn this summer. But as for main event stops, that are going to have to wait till the fall. Kind of, have you had the opportunity to play many WPTs over the course of your career? I think I've played 1, maybe 2.
I played maybe 3. Maybe just 2. The one at the Venetian.
Mm-hmm.
I played one in Hollywood. The one at the Wynn.
Yeah, I think I played the Wynn World Championship 1 year and then the Venetian.
Yeah, I can't think of too many. I think that's probably about it. Maybe just those. The 10K championship I played twice, and the Hollywood one I played once, and then the Venetian one I played once. So yeah, not too many, but we'll see. Maybe again.
Well, all eyes are not on the WPT anymore. They're on the World Series of Poker, which is about a week in right now. And there have been a slew of bracelet winners and some interesting ones. Event number 1. So actually, when we recorded last episode, the casino employees wrapped up, right?
Yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah.
And then they were wrapping up the 5K. And who won?
Asher Conniff.
Mr. Ash Money. Let's go. First bracelet. Congrats, Asher.
I think that one was a great way to kick it off because he's really well known in the poker world. A lot of people were polling for him. He made the final table of the WSOP main event. What did he got it in like Ace King? He had 10s, I think, against Ace King.
Yeah.
And then the flop just came King.
Yeah.
And, just drawing dead.
That was awful.
Yeah.
It's not funny. It's not funny at all.
Well, he wins this one for $408,000, and as you said, his first gold bracelet, and that was the Champions Reunion, which we talked a lot about in last week's episode. I think a great event. I hope they bring that back in some form or another. Definitely incentivizes the players to, these former champs to come and get involved and get there right at the start of the WSOP. Gives a great fan experience because you can go get your picture taken with a lot of these guys and whatnot. So I think that was a great event. And then there was another bracelet winner, perhaps the biggest name so far of the 2024 WSOP, and that's John Hennigan, Connor, taking down his 7th gold bracelet and only the 9th player to do so.
This was crazy. So I think you pointed out, and some other people did on Twitter, it's been 14 years since someone crossed the 6 bracelet milestone. So this is really big. And yeah, there were some serendipitous things too. So it was event number 7. It's his 7th bracelet. That's pretty cool right there. But John Hennigan he's someone who I've gotten to cover a bit in some of the bigger mixed games events, and not a very talkative guy. I think we tried to interview him last year and he didn't want to, but he was nice enough to give Poker News a winner's interview after his victory, so that's great. But yeah, I can't believe it's been 14 years since someone crossed that 6 bracelet mark. I wonder who the next person will be. I'd say maybe, who was I going to say?
Probably Negreanu or
Josh
Aryeh. Yeah.
Jeremy Osmus, I think, is who I was going to say.
Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of Negreanu, Aryeh, Sean D, Brian Rast, Osmus, Jason Mercier, all Brian Hastings, all have 6 bracelets, so it could be knocking on the door.
Them,
yeah. You mentioned the winner interview with John Hennigan that he did give for Poker News. We have a little video, and I'm going to share that right now.
I can't really say that really means a lot to me. It's interesting to know, I guess, just like any other number. Very happy to win the tournament. To me, the best thing about winning the tournament is not losing it. Getting second or knowing they're still playing and wandering around after you go broke. It's just very satisfying to come out on top. I had a similar experience at Poker Go like 2 months ago where I just had a huge chip lead and every hand just played themselves. It was very easy. This tournament was similar to that. When you have a monster chip lead, it's a pretty simple game. The math shows up. People are playing a certain way. This tournament was like that for me from start to finish, basically. I never had any chip problems. I don't really think too much about that. I just pick stud because it's the game I'm best at. And frankly, the younger people are, the less stud they played. So I'm incredibly comfortable with that game. It's probably my best, undoubtedly my best game. And it's probably low on their list. So I just pick stud. And frankly, I've always been lucky at that game too. So I seem to win every pot. I wouldn't really say there's anything I'd attribute it to. I kept playing and, didn't die. I wouldn't say most. I mean, I'll play whenever I get a chance to. I'm not averse to playing $1,500 events. I normally don't. I just happened to jump in this one. It was a pretty lucky coincidence, actually. I usually, just stick with the 10Ks because I don't want to burn myself out too much. I guess I'll be going for Player of the Year now, so get ready for the burn. I mean, legacy, I don't know. I mean, it's just poker, I've done pretty well and pretty happy about that. Already in the Hall of Fame, so there's not much else to shoot for there.
All right, there you go. Congratulations to Johnny World for his 7th bracelet victory. I want to ask you guys, we mentioned it, there's only 9 players in the history of the World Series of Poker with 7 or more bracelets. John Hennigan, of course, being one of them. Do you know the other 8? You guys can team up here, see if you can.
With more?
Yeah.
Phil Hellmuth.
Hellmuth's one.
Easy.
Eric Seidel.
Seidel is there. He has 10. Who else?
Doyle? I don't know.
Doyle
Phil
does
Ivey.
10. Phil Ivey has 10. That's 4 of them. There's 4 more.
Stu Unger.
Not Stu Unger, no. Let's see if I can give you a
Johnny
hint.
Chan.
Johnny Chan has 10. All right, so we're missing 3 more. I'll tell you that.
Chad Holloway.
he's only got the one. That's right there. I'll just tell you the other 3. The legendary Johnny Moss.
Oh.
9 bracelets. And Billy Baxter. He has 7 bracelets. And Men the Master Win has 7 bracelets.
Okay.
So, and we already mentioned those who have 6. And but John Hennigan, already a Poker Hall of Famer, says he might go for Player of the Year now because he's got these bracelets. He's already in the Poker Hall of Fame. Like, what's next for his resume? And I think he might be motivated to go for POI. So we'll have to see. But he's going to have some stiff competition because 2 other well-known players, Nick Guagenti and Bryce Yockey, ended up capturing bracelets. Event number 9, it was the 1,500 limit hold'em. Nick Guagenti gets it for $121,000 in his second bracelet, but his first was an online bracelet. This one hit home differently, I think, for him, right? We've talked about online bracelets before. No offense to Mike Holtz, but like winning one live carries a lot of weight, and I think it did for Nick. And he was one of these 25K fantasy draft players. I've known Nick for many years. Great guy. Right now, he's put a big emphasis on his health, mental state, and it's obviously paying off. And then Bryce Yockey, he won the 5K PLO event for a career best score of $606,000 in his second bracelet, 733 entries in that field. Remember Bryce Yockey, was it a year or 2 ago in the 50K Poker Players Championship in a hand of deuce to 7 triple draw, took like what is one, some people would say is the worst beat in the history of poker. It was like,
seen it.
He was dealt a number 2, and I think it was Josh Aryeh was drawing, and like he was drawing in a way that he had to improve that would cause him to break, and anyways ended up making the wheel. Just like the odds are astronomical of having it. But Bryce Yockey, he's considered one of the best PLO players in the world and took that one down. Thoughts by either of you on these two players, Nick Guagenti, Bryce Yockey? Any experiences? Any thoughts on them claiming their second bracelets apiece?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know much about either of them, but I was there last night when Bryce Yockey won his bracelet. Yeah, I was there with some of the Phenom Poker people. We're watching Farid. Do you say Farid or Farid? Farid. Yeah. So because they were heads up, and I got there like right at the end, like right when he was winning pretty much, but it was exciting. He had a fun rail, like good for him. Wish him the best.
He used to have a card protector. I don't know if he was using it, but I remember it's like a wood carving sumo wrestler. That's how I always remember Bryce Yockey. But and then another winner, Connor. This one was a fun event that everybody looks forward to. The 25K Heads Up Championship sold out this year. They got the 64 player cap. In fact, there were some alternates that didn't get in. One being Daniel Negreanu, which he highlighted in his vlog.
Yeah.
You've been watching those, right?
Oh, yeah, I watch them every day,
Yeah, me too. And, Negreanu, unfortunately, out of that one, the hero in the 25K, John Smith, was there, made a deep run. But ultimately, Connor, there was a guy who won it that kind of came out of nowhere and defeated Faraz Jaka heads up. That's Darius Samuels.
Yeah.
And what do you know? 50% of his bankroll on there?
Yeah, so this was a story that I think PokerNews was the one who got this out of him because our colleague Callum Grant was working, went to go interview him after the victory. I think he caught him in the hallway because he maybe didn't want to do an interview. But he basically opened up and said that he kind of put half of it on the line there and put half of his bankroll up in order to play this 25K event, which I don't know if any of us would recommend. I don't know if that's proper, adequate bankroll management, but it really paid off for him. And you have to think of, wow, that's quite the parlay. You have to win all these heads-up matches. He ended up heads up against Faraz Jaka, and it was funny because I was planning on interviewing Faraz for the Life Outside Poker podcast. We had it lined up weeks in advance, and he told me that the only possible conflict was if he made day 3 of the heads up. So I was just thinking, well, for Faraz's sake, I hope that he does, but, we'll see what happens. And he ended up running deep in it. I was sweating all the matches, and on day 2, he wins the first match, and then the second one. Then it's like, okay, we're going to have to reschedule. But I was happy to reschedule under the circumstances because it made for a great interview. I ended up talking to him yesterday after his runner-up finish. And so gave us a lot to talk about. Great run for Faraz. And I know a lot of people learn from his poker site. So it's cool to see him doing well.
Well, I've showed clips from your show here on the PokerNews Podcast as a sort of teaser. And I'm actually going to show a little clip from your interview with Faraz Jaka so that those who don't know about the Life Outside Poker Podcast will get a little taste. Here it is.
It was great. I've been wanting to work on my heads up game just because it's so vital when you're at the end of a tournament playing for so much money. But you play it so infrequently that it's hard to convince yourself to prioritize it, but it's just something you got to do. So I kind of saw this 25K heads up event as an opportunity to kind of just force myself to have to prepare for that event. And then going deep in it, I learned about so many areas that I was confused on and needed to work on in the earlier matches. And then I went and studied those spots, got some feedback, some from friends who are heads up pros, and really fine-tuned my game throughout the first couple of days and felt really prepared by the third match. But even then, heads up is such a different game. I still got a lot of work to do.
And in a 25K event, there's a lot of very good players, probably all good players. Looking at the ones you played against, it wasn't a ton of people I knew. Sam Sovrel, of course, Ignacio Moron, those are some more well-known names, but were you experienced with the players you were matched up against?
Well, so, Ignacio, for example, I'd met him, had a drink with him because he was with some friends, and I didn't really know much about him. And then when I learned more about him, it's like, well, he's playing nosebleeds, cash games online, like 300, 600 no limit, one of the top players there. There's another player, Owen, remember what was his full name?
Messier, maybe?
Yeah, Owen Messier. Turns out he's arguably the best online poker player in the entire field. So he's a crusher. So I actually, I learned a bit about his game and how he thinks about the game before our match, which was helpful. But yeah, it was, there were some crushers. I was talking with my friends, and whenever we see someone who has a Hennigan mob, a very low Hendon mob and they're in the 25K heads up, it usually means there's some online pressure most of the time.
All right, so there you have it. If you want to see the full interview with Connor and Faraz Jaka, check out the Life Outside Poker podcast. Is either live now or will be by the time you watch this and see this, right? Going up tomorrow, Tuesday?
I think it'll be going up Wednesday, actually, now.
Well, it'll be up there soon. Definitely check it out. As for Darius Samual, I want to just go over the matches he won. So round 1, he defeats James Chen, and then he goes and defeats Ian Matakis, the defending, reigning WSOP Player of the Year out of Minnesota, one of our Midwestern guys. I've known Ian for a while. You've probably battled with him up at Canterbury Park or something.
Probably, yeah.
So he goes out in round 2. Then Darius defeats Matthew Wantman, and then John Smith, who... Do you know about the legend of John Smith?
I don't think so. I mean, I heard him floating around on Twitter a lot, though. Like, people were all talking about him.
He's just this old guy, only comes to play this event, plops down $25,000 and has done really well over the years. He's finished runner-up twice. Here he makes the final 8. I think he's had another 5th place finish. So it's just this older guy who is just coming and just doing battle with young heads-up wizards and, destroying them in a lot of regards. He round 1 defeats Dario Sammartino. And
wow.
I don't know, it's just fun. Like those of us who have been around is like, John Smith, the legend. And it's just such a common name,
Is that really his name, you think? Or are we going under alias here?
Right. And, risking 50% of your bankroll, this guy, Darius Samuel, didn't have hardly any Hendon mob caches. I think he had a $44,000 score in a WSOP Europe or something like that. But other than that, it was just these small things. And
maybe it was like a dream of his, though, like it's worth it. Like, I mean, it's not responsible, but hey, gamble. Yeah. And like, maybe that's just something he always wanted to do. And win or lose, like it was a dream he got to fulfill. So good job, man.
Yeah, $500,000 for that win. So congratulations to him. A couple other winners to go over real quick. We don't have to linger too much on them, but James Chen took down event number 4, which was the 1,500 Omaha 8er better for $209,000. And then you had Daniel Willis defeat Michael Wang on day 3 to take down event number 3, which was that 500 kickoff.
Like I was in the room because Jamie was in the 08 and we were sweating her. And I look over and I see Michael Wang like heads up with someone. I'm like, dude, is that the 500? Michael Wang just got second place in like the $500 freeze out. It's like such a massive event. Like who loves it more?
That was the event that Negreanu lost a big flip with ace king to tens.
To tens, yeah.
Yeah, to bust in like 16th place for a massive pot. If he wins that one, he's going to the final table, no doubt. And then in his vlog, you like this moment where a fan waits for the worst possible moment to come and ask for a picture, and Negreanu kind of snaps at him.
Yeah, it was kind of mean, but like then he explained later, we are just people. Like sometimes you catch me at a bad moment and I'm going to snap at you. Like, it's still a game. He's competitive. He wants to win. Sorry, other guy.
I don't blame him one bit, to be honest. Like I've seen it over the years, how fans kind of go up and talk to him or Helmuth or whoever it may be. And it's just like, know the situation a little bit, like if he's got his phone out and he's vlogging, you don't go up and interrupt him, right? Like if somebody's talking on the phone, you just don't go up to them and be like, hey, can I get a picture with you? Like you just got to be more self-aware and wait for the opportune times and understand, like Negreanu said, like they're just people. If they bust a tournament, they get angry. If they lose a big flip, they can get angry. He did not smash his selfie stick in this instance, though. So there's
good.
At least that.
There's still
hope. Daniel Willis taking that down $175,000. Not too shabby for a $500 buy-in tournament. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things we're going to cover on the podcast each week is this 25K fantasy draft, which I have a big role in for Poker News. We're doing live updates and filtering by chip counts, hands, things like that. So every week I kind of want to just go over what the current standings are in some of the big players. There is a hub on Poker News where you can also read a bunch of this stuff that I'm updating every single day. And right now it's Team the Dinkers, who is Josh K in the Florida crew, I am told. 155 points. The next closest is Team Lang, Michael Lang, who, the Midwesters. Josh,
Midwest team.
Yeah, Reichard was there helping draft, and they're in second place right now with 79 points. Team Baker with 71, and then it just goes down from there. There's still a few teams with just 1 point, 2 point, 3 point sort of thing. But Team Dinkers got the Bryce Yockey. That was the big score right now, 82 points for that victory. David Coleman, Brian Rast have put up some big numbers. Robert Mizraki and Jerry Wong, low points right now. John Raciner too, but but all three of those I know are deep in events today.
Oh,
so they're going to do pretty well. As for the best performing players right now, I'm going to pull that up. As I said, Bryce Yockey is the number 1 point earner so far, 82. Artur Matarosian, he went deep in the 25K heads up, I believe.
Heads up, he got fourth, yeah.
75 points. John Hennigan, 55 points. Nick Guagenti, 54 points. 3 bracelet winners from the 25K so far. Won't be the last, I'm sure. But I'm pretty excited. The race there is only going to get more intense as we go on. Kyna, I know you were one of the bonus players, and that David Baker field where they can pay extra and draft 1 bonus player. I mean, it's got to be kind of flattering to have your name in there.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. I mean, I don't know if anyone drafted me, but it was nice to be considered.
I mean, I should have on our team. We did a little Poker News team with some of the media, and we ended up on our bonus player going for David Prosiak because I knew he had told me he's planning on playing a very full schedule. So, and I know that you are going to be more selective in, not firing everything.
Yeah, no, I've got a schedule and I'm like, there will be no 10Ks, no mixed games, anything like that. So,
well, I hope that you run deep in one of these no limit things. Connor ran deep in that casino employees event.
Yay, Connor.
Yeah, that's my first cash in that. I was 0 for 3 in the employees event before that. So nice to finally make day 2. And I was short on day 2, but then just had like a really fun spin up. And I had some good table draws. Towards the end, I was seated next to Lucas Robinson, aka Robin Poker. But yeah, you guys talked about it a bit. But on day 1, me and Kyna were right next to each other. It's fun to play with her. Yeah, she trapped me with aces. That was a fun hand.
I kind of felt bad though. I was like, because he looked like he wasn't sure and was tanking a while. I'm like, I'll show you.
Yeah, I was behind. I folded though.
And I understand you got a little date with Robin Poker right after this podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna go hang out and play some board games, I think.
Yeah, a little GG Game of Gold reunion there.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Hopefully we can get him in studio during this summer. I'd love to sit down with Robin Poker. I did, of course, interview him and have him co-host on the Poker News podcast when we were on the WPT Voyage Cruise a couple months ago. But would love to get him in studio here in Las Vegas. One other thing I want to talk about before we wrap up this episode was an event that Connor and I got to go to last night, and that was the One Step Closer All In for CP charity event at Poker Go Studio. This is an event that I've attended many years. Jacob Zalewski has been running this since, I think, 2008, has raised more than $1.5 million. And this was a fun one, Connor, because there were some big names there. Johnny Chan, Joe Cada, Jamie Gold, Montel Williams. Montel Williams was there. Like my mom would love that one.
That would have been great.
And he told a great story. Did he not?
No, it was fun. And again, I wanted to go to this so badly that it was my day off and I decided to just go in because I wanted to see these celebrities and maybe get to interview them. And yeah, we talked to Montel Williams and he recited probably the best orally told hand history I've ever heard. Like he was so animated. He was getting into the camera. It was a crazy hand. We got it all on video, but yeah, he's a great storyteller. And so to get to interview him, Johnny Chan was another fun one who I've never gotten to talk to before. So he was also very nice. But yeah, it was a fun event to go to.
We actually got Johnny Chan on video to talk a little bit about the charity and his plans for the WSOP. Here it is. And for the World Series, are you here all summer long? Are you playing some tournaments, playing some cash game? What's your plan?
My plan is to play a lot of cash games. I play a few tournaments, probably No Limit Deuce to 7, maybe the seniors and the main event. That's about it.
You've already got your seat in the main event for busting and getting some revenge on Chris Moneymaker in that Champions Reunion.
How did you find out about this? Man, you good, you guys. You got that right. I get the free roll for the main event for $10 million.
And you got a little revenge on Chris Moneymaker from when he knocked you out in 2003, right?
Yeah, that's what poker is. What comes around goes around. It's a game, so we all enjoy it. Maybe next tournament he can knock me out. As long as we have a good time.
Thanks, Johnny. All right, so there you have it. Johnny Chan, the master. He's already in the main event this year for knocking out Chris Moneymaker in that Champions Reunion, which we showed in last week's episode. And then so we were there. We didn't stick around the whole thing. We waited till it kicked off, caught a couple hands, and then we went away. And then it was like 10 hours later. Like it was a long one. I see Joe Cada tweeting out his winner's photo. 2009 World Series of Poker main event champ.
It seems rigged.
Yeah.
Probably fixed it for him. Just kidding.
I mean, a first win for him. First win for him this summer. Probably his first win at Poker Go Studio. I'm sure he wishes it was in a bigger event, not a charity event. But he was a great ambassador, as was Jamie Gold and all those guys. Mori Eskandani received an award from the One Step Closer Foundation for, basically they give it an award every year for somebody who's the most philanthropic, and for Mori supporting it, opening up the studio these last few years to this event. And Mori gave a little speech. That was a kind of a special moment, Connor. Like, just to see Mori, who's been busting his ass over there at the World Series of Poker, get that recognition. And as he said, like, it's an award in the poker tournament. When you win an award, like when you win your player of the year and you got some trophies, you had to kick a lot of ass to get that. When you get an award like this, it's not for kicking ass at the poker tables, at least. It's, for helping a good cause. And I don't know, Mori, I thought that was a good moment. Did you think?
Super well deserved for Mori. We see him everywhere, both at the Poker Go Studio and at the WSOP. He's always walking around and just always on site, and really cool to see him get that recognition. Mori's a great guy for sure.
Yeah. Well, that is going to do it for this episode 834 of the Poker News Podcast. There is lots of World Series of Poker action and tournaments coming up. We're actually going to jet over there after we're done here. There's going to be more bracelet winners. Remember, 2 episodes a week during the WSOP on Tuesdays and Fridays around 8 a.m. Pacific time. We don't know if Kyna's ever going to, make it every time. Mike clearly didn't, so Connor might be filling in. I might find some others. We'll just have to wait and see how it goes. But plenty of Poker News podcasts to come. Until then, we'll keep a seat open for you.